Eric Morgan, Mother.com for the weekend of October 24th and October 25th, 2015. Let's take a look at how markets closed on Friday, and we can see that pretty much absolutely nice 2-day gain on most of the markets, closing Friday with nice 1 to 2% gains across the board in Asia. Take a look at see how the European markets closed, and we all know that they closed very strong on Friday. Nice close to the week, up about, let's say, another 1 to 2% on pretty much every market across the globe. Take a look at how Americas are trading on Friday. I did notice that as of right now, Brazil is having a little bit of a pullback off the highs, so giving back the gains. But the other markets are generally, let's call it, positive. And right now with the US market trading with about 2 hours to go, 1.5 hours to go in the US on Friday, we see that the biggest mover is the Nasdaq, up about 2%, and we see that the Dow is up about 1%, so is the S&P 500. So let's go to the charts. Let's take a look here at the Canadian market, and we are trading Friday here with about 1.5 hours to go. Market is up about 0.58. Let's go back to that long-term monthly chart. Just go back to this line that we've been drawing this last couple of weekends, and there's the line. Anybody who used this over the last 20 years had a chance to get back into this market after a pullback successfully. So this has been, in terms of timing, the best place to have gone back into the market over the last 20 years. Every time the market recaptures back above the green line, we get a multi-month rally, and here we see that the market touched that level. And so on the monthly charts across the globe, pretty much every market across the globe is showing that month to month it is possible markets are going to have to test, if not break through, recent highs. As long as this is showing support, as long as this support is taking place, there is a good chance these markets might go back to fresh highs. And even I have to admit that's a tough proposition to admit, but that's what the charts are saying. Having said all that good stuff, what I'm going to show you in this video, this weekend version of the weekend analysis video, is markets are coming back to test the weekly support lines. For example, you can see that here in the Canadian market, if you take the highs on the weekly RSI, this is what is being tested. And depending on how things go in the next 1-2 weeks, if the market can break out, that's going to be adding more evidence to the strength on the monthly. But if we show resistance in the weekly chart here, then that would suggest that we are due for some type of weekly correction. And don't forget that we might be also going into a new month. So November is around the corner here, and depending on how November goes, maybe those monthly charts could change. But the key is that we are seeing worldwide markets coming back to test resistance line that can be seen on the weekly RSI. We also see that many daily charts are coming back to test the recent top side. For example, on the Canadian market, the recent break took place here. So that break point in the price corresponds nicely with this period here of the highs, and we are testing that level there. Depending on whether we can break out or show resistance, that might determine the next swing trade. So closing the week exactly on that line, tough to tell which way it wants to go. The key also, again, just to summarize this Canadian market analysis, I think what you have to consider here is pretty much whether we are going to be breaking out above this resistance line or whether this is going to become resistance. So breakout is good for the bulls. Resistance here and pulling back is going to be bearish for market participants. Take a look at the Brazilian market. We're going to use the EWZ and just going to draw a simple line connecting RSI highs, and there you have it. As long as this market is trading below this line, then this market continues to be trading questionably and also with the potential of going down. It's only when it breaks above that line that the charts are going to probably start correcting themselves and a move higher can be seen. So just like we saw in the Canadian market, this is where there's resistance, and as long as markets are trading below that RSI line on the weekly, suggesting that week to week, this market continues to struggle. Let's take a look at the Australian market. And what we see here is, if you take the lows going back to 08, 09, connecting to the lows of 2011 and 2012, it will be something like that. You can see that this is showing nice support on the line connecting the lows. In fact, let me show that. Let me draw that a little bit different. Something like that right there. So you can see it connects nicely with the lows here, touching that low, and now the market is showing support right here, which is good on the monthly. Also, there's another layer. This is now going back to 1990. So the Australian market, if you draw a line just underneath the 50 level, somewhere around there, you can see that every time you move back above this line with uniform action, this is a nice period in the market to have gone long. All this was successful at the very least for a multi-month rally. You can see even here, this is uniform action below the green line and back above it for this re-entry there. You touch that line there with the double bottom. For those lows, you made a nice support on the line there for the lows there, and now this is what is taking place. So the monthly charts, again, we see here monthly charts looking absolutely good, suggesting that this market could be poised to go higher in the coming months, unless we break, for example, unless we break below this line that is recently showing support. So the key here is what happens on the monthly chart in the coming months. If we end up breaking through those two lines, then that's when we can find a fresh sell signal. Right now on the monthly, there is no sell signal unless you're really forcing the issue. Take a look at the weekly, and I think what the weekly is trying to do here is test this 50 level where it broke recently. So you can see that there was a break right there, and that break in May is this move here, and since then the market has been struggling to hold that 50 level. So we draw it like that. You can see that there was a double top resistance here on the around the 50 level, which is there, and now we are coming back to close slightly around the 50. So if we can't move above this, it's a big if the market can't move above that 50, then definitely we are going to be poised to go lower. Otherwise, for this market to trade well, it needs now to trade back above that 50 level. And since we close around the 50, let's see how the market is going to trade for the next coming week or two. Also on the daily, take a look at this level here where the market has been struggling since the highs, which was this intraday high there, which came on that line, and then again we were double top resistance on that red line, which is for this highs, and market did drop after that, and now we are coming back to test that same level. Obviously, bulls want to see the market clear that resistance so it can probe higher levels. Otherwise, if the market cannot move above that band of resistance and shows support or shows resistance, then the next swing trade should be down. So depending on how things go here, either we get a breakout or we get resistance in the coming couple of days. Let's take a look at a 5-year weekly chart for China, and we see here there's two ways to look at this recent bounce, which is bullish. Take the lows as we discussed last week, connecting nicely with the lows on the weekly chart going back to 2011. So we touch this same level here, and the market held and has been up since then. So that's good support. That's one view. The other view goes back to the breakout level, and I'll draw it like that. You see this breakout here led to a fantastic move in the market, fantastic rally, and so all we can do is extend the same line. Once we extend it, we can see that the market came and found support on the back test. So we broke out here, we've gone all the way back tested the same line, and now we seem to be bouncing. So that looks like to me to be good enough support on the weekly. Let's take a look at a 2-year weekly, and the first order of business is the market needs to clear this 50 level here. You can see the last time we had a double top resistance around the 50 level on the weekly RSI for these highs here. And so depending on the next couple of weeks, if this is confirmed as resistance, then that would suggest that around here this market is going to have to pull back first and foremost. Otherwise, markets bulls would like to see this resistance cleared and the market to trade above the 50, just like during this period here when it was trading above the 50 level, which corresponded with this nice rally period. So the market does need to be above 50 if it's going to do well. The more it shows resistance around the 50, the more we can start looking for a potential pullback after this nice recovery over the last 2-3 weeks, actually over the last 2 months or so. On the monthly charts, just like we've seen in other markets across the globe, the monthly chart going back many years does show that this is a nice support area for a month-to-month action. Looks very good, unless at some point, if and when should we break through that resistance line or that support line. If we break through that, that's going to be a fresh sell signal. Right now on the monthly, we see nothing but a bullish support, which is indicating month to month the market looks good. So that's one argument for a bullish market. The other one is, or at least for a bullish recovery, the other one is support precisely at the 50 level. Support at the 50 is good and suggesting that month to month this market could go on to recover, or at least to test some of these nice highs. Let's take a look at the Japanese market, and had a nice close this Friday, just like other markets, and we can see that there's support on the weekly chart going back about 5 years. On the weekly, we also see that there was a nice double bottom about, let's call it about 3-4 weeks ago. This double bottom is the reason and the technical reason why, or at least the excuse why the market has bounced off these recent lows. That looks good. Take a look at the monthly, and on the monthly you can see very good support above the 50 level on the monthly chart, which, as we know, is good for the market. And you can always back test that idea on other charts, but you can see nice support here indicating month to month that this could actually suggest that these highs are going to be taken out. And if you take a look at a long-term monthly view, we can also see very good support. If you take the lows of 08, 09, lows of 2011 and 2012, draw a straight line, you can see that this is where the market is finding support. So as long as the market is finding support on this very clearly defined support line, then that suggests that we should expect this market over time to move higher. And again, just like I've been saying, it's only if and when we break through that line that we can start looking for fresh sell signal. Otherwise, this monthly chart looks very strong. We can also see that the market is holding nicely. If you take a look at the breakout level, so there was a breakout here in late 2012, early 2013, and that breakout began this nice move below 10,000. Market has gone to more than double in price since then. We can draw a line from there, which should be telling us where the next bullish buy signal on a bounce can be, which is here. We can see that market is showing precisely support on this buy signal here. So lots of things on the monthly showing that this market looks good, and we have to expect and respect the potential for the market to go on and break out above recent monthly highs. Also, if you take a look at the daily, there's a line connecting the RSI highs, just like that. And for this market to be truly taking off and recovering, the first thing it needs to do is move above that clearly defined line of resistance on the daily RSI. So bulls would like to see the market take out that high if we are going to see higher prices. Take a look at the Nifty, and we go back to the monthly charts, which are worldwide showing very good support, connecting the lows, double bottom lows of 08, 09, connecting to the lows of late 2011, early 2012, and also the lows of 2013. The market has come back to show support precisely on the same line. So the monthly charts by themselves are suggesting that we should not be surprised if we go on to record fresh highs as far as the Indian market is concerned. There's also another view. If you take the previous breakout, so this breakout here beginning of 2014, that breakout there in the RSI led to a nice spike over there and nice move. And so what we can do is extend that same line, and you can see that now the market has come and found support precisely on the back test of that line, suggesting that month to month this market continues to trade well and should not be too surprised if it continues adding on to the current levels. If we go back to the bullish argument weeks ago, was because the market had come back to test this level. And so let's go back and see how that was good enough to stem this drop here, and the market has recovered. Why? Because we went below the green line and back above it with uniform action, and that has always been successful over the last couple of years, as you can see on this 5-year weekly chart. Every time the market hit that line, we had a recovery of some sort, sometimes even to fresh highs. So this looks good as long as the market is holding above this green line. Now on a short-term basis, and we've seen this in other markets, we see that there's some type of resistance, or at least we can, let's put it this way, the market has to contend with short-term resistance on the weekly RSI as we begin the new week. A line connecting the recent highs is now where the market is going to have to decide whether for now it can move above this line or not. If we can break out above that line, that's going to add on to the upside pressure. Otherwise, if the market stalls around this line here, then we should expect it to pull back. So that's one argument for a pullback, depending on whether resistance is going to be seen or if we can break out. So that's one way to look at it. Also, we can look at the recent break. This break here in the RSI recently began this recent slide, and so we can see that around the 50s, just slightly above the 50, which is exactly where the market closed for the week. This could be resistance level. If the market can't move above that line, then we can assume that in the coming weeks or so, this is poised to bring markets low in terms of their RSI and also in terms of price. So two levels of resistance short term after a recent bounce. Line number one, topside resistance potentially, and line number two is resistance just above the 50 level, where we got the most recent break in prices. So depending on how things go, we might see a pullback in the coming week or weeks. If you take a look at the daily, we are coming back to test this layer of resistance here, which has been instrumental in stalling recent moves in the market higher, even here. So depending on whether we can trade above that for a nice move higher, or whether we trade below that, we are gonna short term know which way the market wants to go. Anything above that is bullish, and obviously resistance on this line and trading low on the RSI would suggest that there's going to be some type of a pullback. So because we closed exactly on the line, I guess we have to wait for more data as we begin the new week. And so that line there, market's going to decide whether we are going to trade higher for a breakout or show resistance and trade down as far as the Indian market is concerned. Let's take a look at the South African market, and here we're just going to draw a simple line on the monthly as we did last weekend, and this is where it's been finding support going back to 2010. The market has been holding support on this level for a nice move to fresh highs, and here we did again hold at the same level, which might suggest that we might have to take out recent highs. Short term though, we are coming back to test this recent break. As you can see, there was a break level there on the weekly, which brought the market lower. We haven't been back to those levels. Now the test is right here. If the market can't move above this, then that would suggest that we are due for some type of a correction lower. Otherwise, moving above that red line might indicate that there's a potential for higher prices. For now, since we are closing exactly on that resistance line, we have to wait to see whether this is going to be resistance and a pullback, or if the market can break out and move higher. So closing exactly on the line makes things very interesting as we go into the new week. So let's take a look at some European markets, and since we've seen all this in other markets, we're just going to go through this quickly. Draw a line around there on the FTSE, and you can see where it's been finding support since 1990. Every time it reclaims back above that green line, it moves higher. All these were nice re-entries into the market, and every time it finds support exactly on the green line, the monthly charts give a buy signal and the market goes on to record higher levels. And now we see here the same thing has happened, suggesting that month to month, without having more data, that this is potentially suggesting that this is a market that should continue seeing higher levels. Just like we saw in other markets, the issue here is week to week. We are coming back to test this break level. You can draw it like that. So this level here where it stalled recently broke down here. Market hasn't been back since then, and now around here there's going to be some type of either resistance or a breakout. I think depending on which way things go. Also, don't forget that recently we could not move above the 50 level, which is here, and now we are coming back to the same level, and this might also be resistance. There's also another way to look at this, and it is a recent break coming into the beginning of August. So this break in August here led to this big drop. All right, so we know that was a significant break in the RSI. If we extend the same line, we can see that this line here might also become backtest failure area. If that is the case, then that would suggest that prices should start pulling back in the coming week and weeks. On the FTSE daily, and we've seen this across the globe on many charts, this here is where it has been finding resistance. In fact, if you go back to the high somewhere there, it was around that line there, and now we are here, back here, testing that same level. So resistance again on this line would suggest a pullback, and if the market can trade above that red line, if the market can trade above that zone, then maybe the prices can go higher. Take a look at the hourly chart for the FTSE as we go into the new week, and if you take a line connecting recent resistance areas, so somewhere around there, you can see that we stalled on the red line here and went below it for the highs there. We touched that red level, which is the highs there, and recently even during these highs we broke back below that level there, and now we've touched that red line, and now we are pulling back. So hour to hour, I think the way the market closed here, it would not be surprising that we begin the week by seeing the market pull back because of this hourly resistance. Also, one can argue that we made a higher high in price while the RSI made a slight lower low, which hour to hour might suggest a pullback is in store. Take a look at the French market on the monthly. We can see that nice support on the monthly here. Since this support here, it held the 50 here in 2012 for those lows, and now we are coming back and showing 50 RSI level support. That's one layer of argument for a bullish market. Also, take a line connecting the lows from 09, 08. It connects nicely with the lows of 2011, 2012, and now right there. So this chart on the monthly looks very good, suggesting that we should not be too surprised if the market decides to take out recent highs on the monthly. On the daily, this might be a breakout. Take a look at this line that was the previous RSI connecting the previous highs. You can see that for now we did close slightly above that line, which might be a breakout. The more the market just keeps on increasing on that RSI level, the more we are going to see higher prices. So that's a bullish argument. But if you're looking for a bearish argument on the daily for the French market, all you have to do is draw a line somewhere there, which corresponds with the break of the highs there. So this break level gave you the high right there, and now since then the market has been seeing short-term highs when it finds resistance on that same line. So we did close around that level. Depending on whether we see resistance on that line or not, resistance would suggest lower prices, breakout would suggest the market continues to trade higher. And that's the argument there on the daily. On the weekly, and we've seen this in many charts, so this leads me to think that maybe week to week markets might pull back, because take a look at the fact that the market did close around this level here on the weekly, and this was a break level. If you go back to the recent break right there, the break in the RSI on the weekly led to this massive pullback. We haven't been back to that break level in the price, and I think showing resistance around this level here is not a good sign of a week-to-week action. So if we see a pullback of this level in the coming week, that would suggest that market will have to test some of these recent lows. If we take a look at the German market, which has almost the same look and feel on the monthly, so which the monthly looks good, but if you take a look at the weekly, if you draw a line connecting the previous support line, we broke through that in August, which was this break, and the market dropped right there. So that break was significant. If you take a look and extend the same line, you can see that the market closing above 50 this past week there would suggest that around here there might be some resistance. So that's one potential bearish view. The same line is being tested, back tested. Keep in mind this is Thursday's close. If you add Friday's move, you can see that the market closed somewhere around here, around there, suggesting that if this is resistance on the weekly, there might be a week-to-week pullback in the coming week or so. And also there's the break level. If you draw the break level like that, the market is coming back to test this layer here. If it shows resistance, I would expect a pullback. Let's conclude here by taking a look at the weekly chart for the S&P 500 with about 45 minutes to go before the close on Friday here. Markets are coming back to test this layer, this level here. Why that level? Because that was a break point in May, and May was where we got the high in the market on a week-to-week basis. Since then, this has become resistance, as you can see here in July for that breakout attempt, and now we are coming back to test that level. It would suggest to me that week to week, this is where the market is going to have to decide which way it wants to go. Clearly, if it shows resistance on that red line on the RSI, then week to week there should be a pullback. Otherwise, if the market can clear that resistance, then maybe even the US market and other markets might add on to this recent gain. But my own personal feeling here is this here is strong resistance, suggesting that don't be surprised if by the end of next week that the market is showing a pullback of these recent highs. Eric Mwathe with Mwathe.com. Enjoy your weekend. As always, good luck, peace, and blessings. And so it is. E-A-C-S. Bye. Ciao. Kwaheri. Woo! Woo! How's your weekend coming along, guys? All right. See you guys next week. I'm out.